Okay, well, uh, dear professors, as I told you before, thanks for being here. And World Language Academy presents this kind of teachers interview in order to present and let to know and get to know more information about our teachers interviews. We normally invite teachers from different countries, no, from Ecuador, Peru, and other places. The main idea, the main goal is to learn from teachers' experience, to learn their best in order to improve our practice. So when we learn from experience, when we learn from other teachers' perspective, we have a different vision about education and different topics that we put in practice in our teaching, in our classroom with our dear students. So I highly appreciated for Miss Claudia Rivera's work because I saw her contribution and her different achievements, okay, during her career, in the university. And well, I also follow her in the Facebook page that she has, and she invited students, teachers, in order to work together under vacation courses, no, vacacionales, no, the vacation courses that I saw the advertisements that she worked with other two ladies, no, with other teachers too. Okay, so well, we are going to start this interview first by asking Dr. Claudia Rivera. The first question for you in this interview is, what is the origin of your passion in teaching in general, not only English language? No, so what do you think is the first moment you noticed that you could be a teacher to inspire other people? Can you share with us, please?
Yes, thank you so much, Andres. Definitely, I think the first moment where I wanted to be an English teacher, well, was to help others, not just a teacher, because I want to be a teacher when I was a child, and my father is a teacher, so that was the reason why I really enjoyed to be in touch with this career. But when I really know that I could help others was in COVID-19 pandemic. I have the first moment when I feel that I could help other, because a lot of English teachers in Peru had so many problems. They don't know how to use technology. They don't know how to make more dynamic the lessons. My students were a little bit confused about how to use it, how to try to improve their education. So that, I think, that was the reason why I want to create Miss Cloud Rivera as a group. It started in 2015 when I was starting working at Cesar Vallejo Language Center. But in 2020 and in 2021, it was the moment when I really pushed myself to try to do webinars, to try to create some courses by myself, according to my experience, to try to help others, because the majority of them were for free. So that was the reason why I really enjoy how the students, how the teachers were glad. And I think that all the blessings help me to find more things in my life. So I think if you give someone some things, you are going to receive more, believe it or not. I think that it was the reason. So I really enjoy that. And nowadays we are still doing that. So that was the reason why I start with those webinars, those free courses, some courses that you pay, but it's not so much, it's a little that you pay just for the material and for some things. But we try to help some teachers to improve English in Peru. That's the reason why we want to improve that, right? To give some tips, some tools to try to improve your lessons. So that was when I was really happy, Andres. And in that period, that was the period when I met you. So I
I
remember that
remember.
because you were doing the same, but in Ecuador. So we try to help each other, if you remember that.
Yes, of course, it was a wonderful time. I remember it. It was 4 years ago. Yeah, that when I met you, or we met together, I think in the social media, in Facebook, and we interacted and we created this opportunity for teachers. Well, so I follow you, you follow me too, and well, so working in groups is much better when only one person has different ideas, because in groups we can go ahead and we can incorporate more. So thank you so much, dear Dr. Claudia. Well, so now let's talk about some achievements, okay? So in your perspective, what achievements do you believe that are very important in your professional career? Um, I'm not referring only to academic achievements. I'm talking about emotional achievements with your students, in any anecdotes, something that you will feel rewarding and you could share with us, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Andres. Something really special for me and really helped me to grow up as a person, not just professionally, was to enter, to be admitted to work at San Marcos University. For me, that was a place that at the beginning I was a little bit afraid because the majority of people mention a lot of things that maybe it's going to be a little bit difficult. It's going to be higher about the background that I have to teach my students. But when I started working there, I found a lot of students who really want to learn, who push them to give us to them more information. So there was really responsible students. So I really love that kind of students because I prepare some material and they always want more. They always want to improve more. So that give me opportunity to develop professionally, but not just professionally, emotionally, because I really enjoy how they give me at the end of the courses. They always be really glad. They give me some words about this kind of teaching, because the majority of teacher has another methodology. In my case, I try to use another methodology when I teach language. Maybe it's a little bit traditional, the other way of some teachers try to give it to them the lesson. So they really enjoy my methodology. In the surveys of satisfaction surveys, they always give me good scores. So I noticed that they really enjoy that kind of lesson. So that was the reason why I decided to still continue practicing more about my techniques, my tools. So for me, it was really glad. When I have maybe some days I have some problems on some things, but my students really uh, were a prize for me. All of them were a prize for me because they always happy, they enjoy my dynamics, they participate a lot, they always try to push me, and I think that I have a reward with them, with my students from San Marcos University. I really enjoyed to be there. At the beginning, when I was a student, I have a lot of things. I was thinking, no, it's so long, it's so far from my home. How I'm gonna be there? So that was the reason why I not decided to study there. I prefer to study in Federico Villarreal University because it was near my home. Some people told me, oh yes, but I give the opportunity to work there and I enjoy to work there, even though it's a little bit far from me, even though the salary is not so good, but I really like to be in San Marcos University and I don't want to change this job for anything because I am happy. I am really happy there.
That is very interesting, what you remark. So sometimes it's said that teacher salary is not recognized, or maybe it's not enough for a lifestyle, no? So, but anyway, there's something that is rewarding, and that's what you receive from your students. So the emotional rewarding. So what you send to your student with love, with affection, and sometimes you do because you love doing, and and that's something that you can't explain with words. It's from your heart, from the bottom of your heart, and that's something that is teachers' qualities, no? That you, when you are passionate, that and we bring everything, we will the best, no? And that's a quality that I observe that inspired teacher has, and you're no deception, dear Claudia, no? So okay,
Andres, and it's the
so
same as you. You are a really passionate teacher. You work from morning to the evening, Andres, and you really enjoy working. So that's a
okay,
quality
thank you.
because
As I
you
said,
love what you do.
definitely, we love what we do, no? So, and I'm completely sure that there are some other colleagues here connected, and they exactly do what we that we are talking about, no? Because they are passionate, but in different forms, no? At school, at job, at their online sessions, or whatever they do, no? So my respects for all the teachers that has their qualities of determination and passion. Okay. Another question, dear Claudia, is about in contrast to the achievements that we have, there are some challenges that we have to face down in the classroom. So, or there are some circumstances, situations that demand that sometimes we lose energy or we feel not so good. Okay, it maybe it can reduce our time, our teaching time. So that's normal. So that sometimes it happens in our tasks, in our duties, so as teachers. So, but what do you think are some limitations or challenges that you have faced before or maybe at present?
Yes, thank you, Andres. One of the challenges that I found was that my students have some problems with the connectivity, with the Wi-Fi, with they want to connect to the lessons, they have many problems, but they really want to participate. They try to enter by cell phones, even though it couldn't do a lot of things at the same time, but the majority of them try to participate with cell phones. For me, it was a challenge because I try to find the reason, I try to find what is the tool that could help me to work with them, but in the way they don't lose a lot of megas to try
Mhm.
to participate, to try to interact, but to try to avoid that they disconnect in the lesson immediately. That it was the reason. So in the lesson, I could have 40 students, but 20 of the students has a good connectivity and some of them no. So when I call some of them Maria and Maria disappeared and Maria enter again because it was the reason how I tried to give it to them material before the lessons to be to know what they are going to receive in the lesson because maybe sometimes when I try to explain the lesson they lose the connectivity and other in other moments I try to record the lessons to help with them uh, this video in order to improve some parts that they could understand because they wasn't there. For me, it was a little bit sad sometimes because I want to do a lot of things, but in fact, it was not possible. Not for me, not for them. It was just for the circumstance of COVID-19. And in a university that is a national university, the majority of the students don't have the possibility to try to have Wi-Fi all the time because they were worried to survive in that way. They couldn't work, so they try to spend the money just in food or in other things, right? So that was the reason was a little bit difficult, a little bit fat for me, really sad for me that moment, that period of time. But I tried to do the best. Another thing that is not just in the way of when you teaching, that was some things that they were some things that I told to you about the professional, the working environment. Some teachers were not so nice sometimes with a teacher, right? They don't share with you some material. They are a little bit selfish, and I think that is some in a way, it's not good for the company or for the institution, because all of us are trying to get an objective. But with some of them, no, it's for me. No, I'm not going to share the information. You are not going to participate in this group. It's a little bit bad, because you could do all the thing as a group. We are like an island, and you have to work in different parts, and we don't work together. And that's the reason why sometimes it was a little bit sad for me, right? Because some teachers not help us, right? They try to work alone. They don't improve the things with us. They don't receive the comments they think that is bad. So I think that this kind of mind is not good for us. It's not healthy, right? So as I talk to you, you mentioned some experience that were similar to my experience. And you mentioned that I have to try to don't be sad, to try to push myself to still continue working. So that was the reason why I decided to still continue working and don't focus my attention of that kind of people, right? But at the beginning, for me, it was really sad, right? But nowadays, I try to work as my way, don't try to um, be part of that kind of practice. When you try to be selfish, you spend your time more talking about others and not about the lesson. I try to avoid that and just focus on my lesson and my students, and that's a healthy way of survive here.
I totally agree with you, dear Claudia. When you narrate the anecdotes and experience that you have faced, no? So during the pandemic, it was challenging for, I think, in not only maybe in your country, here it was the same. Likewise, that we have to uh, be patient with our students in the connection, because their cell phone did not have enough megas or the capacity to connect, or in the rural areas, people have to go through, I don't know, different places under a tree or whatever, and they had to connect. And sometimes they couldn't connect for classes, and we have to be patient with them and adapt to the new modality. So, and also that I agree with you is that the way the teachers philosophy. So so we have different values, no, at the moment when we share knowledge with our students, no. So I believe, I strongly believe in the idea that good teacher is not only the person who knows a lot, no. Okay, instead it's a person who knows how to share, okay, with different students, even if they are children, young adults, or teenagers, and they know how to touch their heart, you know, so they know how to um, give their best of the different what they know, through their capacities. Okay, so thank you, dear Claudia. In this moment, dear teachers, thanks for being here in this interview. Now it's your time. If someone else in this online Zoom room would like to ask Miss Claudia Rivera any question, feel free, please. Maybe you raise your hand, or if you prefer, I can read for you the question in the chat, please. Can you go ahead, please? Okay, well, anyway, you can write in the chat, dear teachers, and I will read for you, or I can read for you during the process of this interview. Okay, so Miss Claudia Rivera is our guest in this teacher's interview, and she is sharing her experience, her anecdotes, the positive sides, and some when she has to face down in with some challenges in the education. So that's a normal path that we teacher have to handle. Doctora Claudia, can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you. Thank you so much, Andres.
Okay, well, so another question that we are going to ask you is about uh, your methodology. So some teacher has different methodologies, not only one. And it's recommendable that we vary from methodology to methodology. In your experience, which methodology do you normally use, or have you changed your methodology depending on their place, work, or a student's age? So can you tell us, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I have some problems with the camera, but I'm still continue working. I hear you perfectly, so don't worry about that. Yes, definitely. I think that I try to use my methodology according to the level of the students. That's the reason why I always try to do a diagnostic test at the beginning of the lesson to know what are the characteristics of my students. I know that we have a curriculum. I know that we have a syllabus, maybe sometimes that we have to follow, but we have to be sincere, right? Sometimes our students, they mention that they are in B1, but in fact, some of them are in A2. So we have to push them to still continue working as B1 by trying to give it to them the tools, the necessary tools to work with all the students in the same level. So I always try to do the diagnostic test in order to know or to find in which level are there. And according to that, to try to do some activities to help them to learn according to the capacities, to the competence. Uh, I think that one of the things that I always try to do in all my lessons. Baby, hoy sí que me puse yo pa' ti porque fue que tú me bailaste a mismo. Twerking de espalda te vi editing el sorry. Quito me puse el pico entre tú y yo. Y ajá. I don't know why they enter as Andres Rodriguez, Andres. I don't know what happened there.
Yes,
I don't know.
something strange happened now in this moment. I don't know.
Yes, I don't know what happened, but well, that's the reason why, as I mentioned, that was the reason why. Yes, it was an enter as Andres Rodriguez. What's so a little bit rare.
Yeah, well, anyway, dear Claudia, don't worry. In this part of the interview, I will stop that part, okay? So we can continue. We keep talking, okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
Don't worry. It's okay.
I was a little bit afraid, Andres, to be sincere. I don't know what happened what happened
Uh,
in that moment.
I didn't
But
know what happened in that moment. I said myself it was a little crazy in that moment. So I said, "What's wrong with Claudia?" No, I didn't believe that what was happening. All right.
yes, you just have to smile to that kind of people who always try to do that, right? So
Okay, so let's take that. It was like a break.
yes, it was like a break. Yes, yes. Well, just to have to continue with that, as I mentioned, is that we have to follow the methodology according to the level of our students and according to the age. I always try to mention to my students who are gonna be English teacher that not try to push them to treat all of the students at the same way because they have different capacities. If we mention about the multiple intelligence, we have to focus that some of them learn by kinesthetic things, another to listen, another to try to talk more. So try to get a good balance, right, in that moment. So I think that's the reason why we have to do that, right? So I think that.
Well, I really said that strongly agree with the Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. I believe in the way that kinesthetic people jump or what visual people learn. When you have to create different ways that students interact with you, no, in the class, no. So as Albert Einstein said once that it's not so fair that you adjust one assessment tool for everyone in the class as they were only one person. No? So that's not so good. So we as educators need to implement different techniques, methodologies, or assessments in order to evaluate our students' performance and to see their progress, okay?
Especially when you work with adults, right? Because sometimes you have to do a lot of efforts to try to help the adults to participate. So I think that's the reason why we have to help them, to give it to them more dynamics, to give it to them more confidence. That was something that I want to mention before the incident, but something that I want to remark is that I always try to give in my lessons some confidence to my students to participate. I always try to give it to them some feedback, but in a positive way. Because in another wise, I notice that my students don't, still being shy. They don't want to participate. They don't want to talk. They don't want to share their ideas, even though they mention, I want to be to learn in an interactive way. But in fact, they don't are try to participate because they are uh, afraid to commit some mistakes. So I think that something that is important is to have a good environment. In that way, the students are going to learn more, they are going to participate more, they are going to commit some mistakes, but in the way that they are going to learn in a significant way, right? In a meaningful way. So that's the reason why I want to just remark that.
Absolutely, dear Claudia. So sometimes it is called when you combine different kind of skills or kind of approaches in class. It's necessary according to different circumstances in the class. Sometimes when you make your lesson plan and you plan with communicative approach, but the level of your students or maybe the I don't know, something that you didn't fix in the plan happened or occurred, something unexpected in the class happened, so and you need to adjust. Okay, so well, I have to do my warm up. I need to change this activity. Instead of this, I do this. So yeah, so lesson plans are not adjusted. You need to be flexible in class. No, so that's something that tutors, instructors, teachers need to know, that we are dealing with human beings, no? So we don't have to be very strict in order to adjust all the time what is in the lesson plan. So here in the chat zone, maybe some of the teachers can agree with us because they experience that too. I think so. Um, Dear professors, just in case you have any question or you would like to make any comment, please, you can go ahead. I invite you to participate. Um, maybe I will say your name, please. If you are ready to talk, please, you can say something to Dr. Claudia Rivera. Miss Monica Roxana. Okay, thank you. Don't worry, Miss Monica. There's somebody else, Mr. Carlos Carranza. Hello, are you there? Okay, let's see. Well, don't worry. Just in case you have any question, please let me know right in the chat in order to continue with this interview. All right. Um, another question, Dr. Claudia Rivera. In this part of the interview, okay, thank you so much, Miss Lucy. No, let me read for you. There's a question, Miss Claudia. What tools do you use on your virtual? That was the next question that I was going to do. Thank you so much, Miss Lucy. You got ahead. So, Miss Claudia,
Thank you.
did you hear the question?
Yes, thank you, Lucy. Thank you for your active participation. Of course, definitely. As I mentioned, according to the tools, maybe sometimes our students has different possibilities to interact with many tools, right? I always try to use Padlet. For example, for me, it's very interactive. I really like Padlet. I try to work too with Quizlet, right? It's very interesting, the vocabulary, the flashcards games. I try to work with lyrics training. If you want to sing with your students, I try to work with lyric training. Sometimes I have to use some videos. So I use Tech Talks. With the videos, I try to use Tech Talks to start at the beginning of the lesson with my students to start maybe a conversation, to elicit some ideas. It's for me, it's interesting, right? But something that I really use when I want to get some ideas with my students is quizzes, because it's interactive. The students could participate at the end of the class. I always try to finish with these quizzes, or I try to use Padlet. But if I want to them to participate in some exercises, I use Wordwall, even though it has some limitations because you could create more than 5 word walls, but you can use word walls from other teachers in order to use in your lessons. Just my recommendation is to check before, because some of them has some grammar mistakes, so check before the material, check before the things. But you could work with word wall. It's very interactive, it has sounds the students really like to participate. It has many different resources, not just what kind of game. It has many different resources to practice grammar, to practice vocabulary, to practice some listening activities. So I recommend Wordwall. I really like. But if you want to check the end of the lesson, what you're going to do, you could check with some things like with quizzes, right? Oh, Amera Lee is here. Our friend Amera Lee is here. Thank you,
Yes,
Luz.
yes, Amerali. I didn't know about him a long time ago, so it's a pleasure to see him.
Hello,
Uh,
Amer. Hello.
yeah. Miss Karen in the chat is asking something. How can we use audiovisual tools to promote the oral expressions? I mean, speaking, no?
Yes. Well, in the case of audiovisual tools, I always try, for example, to give it to my students some pictures, and my students try to create a story according to the pictures that I give it to them. So in that way, they practice writing, and then they practice the oral expression. They share what they have to create with the pictures. So that's an activity that I always try to do in basic 8 or basic 9. Another thing that I always try to do is maybe I could use some pictures and my students try to write some sentence according to the picture, and they share what they create, right? So that's some activities that I always try to do with them. But an activity that was really successful for me in different places was that I mentioned, right? To create a story according to the picture. And they really enjoy, because I not try to give it to them the princess and the prince. No, I always try to give it to them maybe a lion, maybe some different characters. And they try to create a story with the different characters. So that's the challenge. Not to give them the common story. I try to give it to them different characters, a diamond, something like that, right? And they try to create a story in groups. I think that's a challenge, and they share the story with the group, even though they are going to commit mistake. But as we know, it's really important for them to still to make more meaningful the language, to put it the language in context, to try to use that. So for me, that's a transition that I always do with writing and speaking.
Great. I'm fascinated to hear from you. Hello, Mr. Amer Ali. Thank you so much for being here from Pakistan. Are you there, Mr. Amer? Can you hear us?
Amer, hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Greetings from the Pakistan, honorable speaker, my friend, Dr. Claudia, and dear sir, Dr. Andres. It's a great opportunity to the be participate. You are a wonderful uh, webinars, and learning from you with the great topics.
Thank you so much, dear Amber. It's always an honorable to
Thank
see
you so
you, my
much,
dear friend.
Amir, to be with us
Th-
in the
thank you, sir.
presentation.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
ma'am.
my friend. Greetings from
Thank
Pakistan.
you. Thank you. Well, so in this part of the interview, I'm reading some comments. Okay, thank you, Miss Karen. Miss Claudia explained us about different tools for improving speaking skills. Okay, all right. No, okay, Dr. Claudia, we are going um, to talk about more updated topics related to artificial intelligence. No, according to some experts, artificial intelligence has been incorporated some years ago, but here in education in our countries, in maybe in Latin America, well, in my country, it's brand new, no, 2 year recently, no more than 2 or 3 years. No, I don't know in Peru, it is brand new too, but what I know, what I experienced when I use ChatGPT and other applications with artificial intelligence is that they can help you to do different things. But there are some, as always, there are some advantages and disadvantages. My question is, do you incorporate or did you send to your students to use artificial intelligence and you allow and explain your students what are the limitations of artificial intelligence?
Well, thank you so much, Andres. That was question really a really important question, right? Here in Peru is the same with artificial intelligence. We are at the beginning of that process. Even though other countries has a lot of successful with that kind of tool, here in Peru is just a beginning. Some things that I always try to give it to my students is to try to know that they have to learn by themselves because sometimes it is a little bit, it make them more mechanic, right? It's a way that they don't try to be critic. They just ask for a question and the question is immediately there, the answer. So I always try to give it to them the opportunity to know how important is for them to process the information because otherwise they are going to be more mechanic, more, and they are not going to have the opportunity to have the critical thinking. They just going to ask, they're going to receive the answer and they are going to put the answer, even though it's good or bad, they are going to follow that. So that's not good in my opinion. So I always try to give it to my students that unfortunately, I think that we have to put attention on the writings because some of them nowadays try to give it to us some writings created by artificial intelligence. Hopefully, as a teachers, we know, right? As a teachers, we know that they are not and that we know the level of our students and we know how they are going to write, right? So we know what our writing is so specifically or when they use some technical words. So it's possible for us to detect that they are using artificial intelligence. But I think that for a reason that is important for us is to improve the values of our students, to be honest in life, to be honest, to accept that they it's a process. To learn English is a process. In the exam, the artificial intelligence is not going to be with them. So I think that we have to give it to them more opportunities to work in class, but to try to work by themselves. Of course, it's good to use a dictionary, to try to use some tools, to try to understand some words, but not all of that, right? To use as a tool, as a resource, but not try to ask for them all the things. I remember that I was a little bit confused when I noticed that one of my students were talking to the artificial intelligence about what to have to do about a problem, a personal problem. The artificial intelligence is not going to give it to do how you are going to solve your life, right? So I think that we have to be more uh, focus on what we could do with that and what we cannot do, right? So that's my opinion, Andres.
Thank you so much, dear Dr. Claudia. So I also agree with you in the use of artificial intelligence and the code of ethics, the ethical standards that we as educators, our students, that they are learning, and they need to know that uh, everything that you can use in order to improve your practice. So you need to use your own. You need to, for example, in APA norms, you need to cite the name of the author, the year for academics purpose. In artificial intelligence, you don't need only to copy paste. Maybe artificial intelligence can help you in a process, but you don't have to copy paste exactly. So you need to reflect, you need to analyze, you need to observe if that information contributes to your work, or maybe you can reject that information and don't only copy paste because that is only have to present as a homework, as a research. No, no, no. That's not the point. So we need to teach our students more than simply a science or a language. No, we are preparing them for being responsible, honest, um, and other qualities um, that they need to have in real life. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Doctora Claudia, in this moment, more than a question, it's a comment or a reflection that we want to share with you, and also the rest of the teachers. If they can write their opinions in the chat, I can read too. So, what is your vision of education in a near future? So, what do you think is going to happen, or what is your vision about the different the different modalities of education? Do you think that education will improve, or maybe there will have some challenges for people?
Yes. My vision education, I think that is going to be related to how our students needs to be more critical. I need that we are going to need to create more spaces, more activities when they are going to try to use the critical thinking, because nowadays they have a lot of information just with a click. They don't have the necessity to look for information in other places. They don't need to know if it's good, if it's real or not real, if it's valuable or not valuable. As you mentioned, ethics, we need to create integral students with that they need to know what are the ethics things that they need to use in their life. Because as you notice, it's gonna be some, I think that is gonna be a real revolution in technology in some days, in some years, right? In some years, just in a couple of years, or in 5 years, we are going to have more changes. And and our students are going to grow up with that changes. For us, it's gonna be a challenge because we have to try to push our students to be uh, autonomous in their learning process. Some people mention that maybe we are not going to need teachers in the future, that robots are going to replace us. But I don't think that, because I think that for us it's important the way as we are going to teach that a machine is not going to do. We know how our students, we could know what are the necessities of them. I think that the machine couldn't replace that. And the part of, as I mentioned, the affective filter is really important. When you are given lessons, some of our students need a mentor, a guide to push them all the time, try to still continue to give it to them a real feedback. So that's gonna be a real challenge for us. A real challenge for us to try to help our students to create spaces when they are going to think, because some of them nowadays they don't really want to spend more time doing some activities. They want to get the activities fast. And I think that is something that is gonna be a risky. right? A challenge for us because they want to teach them that if they want to improve, they are going to take some time to get something. They are not going to receive all immediately. Unfortunately, technology gives to them that opportunity. And at the same time, we need to help them to know what is real, what is not real, because they have a lot of information that they think that they believe in that because they don't use the critical thinking. So they believe, oh yes, this is real, it is not, no, and they still continue follow that uh, bad example, right? And that's the problem that we are going to suffer with our students, right? So I think that is going to be a challenge. I think it's going to be a challenge for us.
Yes, so it's not a pessimistic vision, but teachers are necessary in order to promote leadership, in order to what you said, no, as mentors, as role models in the classroom, no. So it's necessary the presence of the teacher in the classroom. So robots are automatically done everything, but they are not full of, they don't have a emotion. So our students need more than knowledge, emotions to express. And so a real teacher in the classroom can share with them. So I agree with you, dear Claudia.
Thank you, Andres.
Dear professors, thank you so much for your presence in this uh, interview, online interview. So Dr. Claudia Rivera has shared with us her vision, her expertise, perspective, and also their origins about when she started, the first thing that she has done in the pandemic time, and what is she doing now. So, Dr. Claudia, in order before we finish this interview, let me send with you um, my acknowledgement for being here, okay, to this for accepting this online interview, and also we send you our best and sincere um, wishes in your academic, personal, and professional goals that you have. No, so we know because we follow you in the social websites, and we know that you are working so hard.
Yes, definitely. I totally agree with you. We have
Okay.
to work so hard all the time, right? But it's a profession that we choose. And sometimes it's a little bit sad, sometimes it's a little bit happy, but it's part of life, right? It's something that we decide to do in order to help others. And as we know, because you are a friend of mine, not just a colleague, you're a friend of mine, we always try to give to others, uh, even though it's a little bit, but we always try to share our knowledge with others. And believe it or not, we are going to receive more from God, right? So that's something that I always try to do. Try to give it to others what you can, because in life, life is going to give it to you the same or more.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing with us, dear Dr. Claudia. Amerali's writing, it's a wonderful opportunity to learn about artificial intelligence. Thank you so much, dear her. Any comment, Mr. Amer? Would you like to comment something with us?
I think they lose connectivity now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I see it. Dear professors, as I told you before, thanks for being with us in this online interview. I hope that this interview contains a lot of information that can be useful for your practice. The teacher's perspective can help you so much. And the most important thing is that you can also put in practice, no? And share with us your experience too, no? In order to enrich this interaction with our guests, no? So Andres Rodriguez here expresses my gratitude, okay, to all of you. And I wish you have a very nice Sunday. Hope to see you next time in another teacher's interview. Thank you so much, Dr. Claudia Rivera. So have a good time and go ahead in your project.
Thank you so much to all of you to be here. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Karen, Rosana. Thank you, everyone. And especially my friend and colleague, Andres Rodriguez. Thank you for this great opportunity and invitation. I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you so much. More than a pleasure. Have a good Sunday. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good time.